Shadarek here with my deep dive for Soul Generation for Aldrachi Reaver in Midnight. So this is basically a video on how Aldrachi Havoc Demon Hunter is going to be functioning in Midnight and how it's going to be generating souls due to the changes that are coming through on Alpha. Now, I've spoken about those previously, going over patch notes for Alpha, but this is just kind of taking a deep dive at exactly what I want to talk about, as I've heard concerns of removing the consistent generation souls of sigils. Now, with exactly what I'm looking at and talking about here, Sigil of Flame and Sigil of Spite have been removed. And previously we had the talent soul sigils that made it so when a sigil hits a target, it would generate a soul. Sigil of Flame had a 30-second cooldown, so you got 2 souls per minute with your 2 casts per minute. Sigil of Spite gave 3 souls on its own and gave an extra 4th for hitting a target. That was a 1-minute cooldown, so another 4 souls per minute. That means between between the talents and using both sigils and consuming 3 globals per minute, you were generating 6 souls. Those are now gone. All of that is now gone, as well as that Chaos Fragments, which previously made it so Chaos Nova would generate souls. That talent is now gone. It's entirely removed. Chaos Nova will no longer generate souls. Instead, we have Focused Ire, which makes Chaos Nova do an additional 2-second stun on Chaos Nova. This is also essentially merging Fell Eruption into Chaos Nova. So instead of Nova being a 2-second stun, now it's a 3-second, and if you have Ire, it is 5-second stun on primary target. What we gained instead to counteract this is Broken Spirit. And Broken Spirit is the Hunt shatters 1 soul fragment. It already generates a glaive, but it will now also shatter a soul fragment. As well as that, Chaos Strike has a 20% chance to shatter a soul fragment. This will be Chaos Strike and Annihilation, not just Chaos Strike, as all things that note that. And this is at least the current version, which may be changed. It's possible that we'll see Blade Dance added to Broken Spirit in the future. If that does happen, it's possible that we'll also see retuning. So, what I want to look at is exactly how do these interact, because we're losing those 6 souls per minute of consistent generation from Sigil of Spite and Sigil of Flame, but we no longer have to spend 3 globals on those. In turn, we get Broken Spirit, which is just 1 single soul fragment from the Hunt, but that 20% chance per Chaos Strike to shatter a soul fragment, so 1 in every 5 casts. This is actually a pretty good amount, because there is another thing that we have to consider. And that is, while the Hunt is currently a 1.5-minute cooldown, like it always was, we now have our Apex talents. And Eternal Hunt brings that down to be a 1-minute cooldown with the 30 seconds of reduced cooldown. So, what I want to do is look at and compare to a current day log. So what I have is one of my early Forge Weaver kills from earlier in the season when we weren't looking at a fight that was just flopping and falling over. And with this, I took the liberty of writing out a bunch of things about the fight. As I mentioned, the Hunt now is going to be a 1-minute cooldown instead of 1.5. This was a 6:41 fight, so on the fight I got 5 Hunts, which equals 5 glaives, or equivalent of 30 souls, as they are 6 souls to make 1 glaive. The change with Eternal Hunt, bringing it to a 1-minute cooldown, means instead of 5 Hunts, we would get 7, and we would get an additional 7 souls, as well as the fact that we get 7 glaives instead of 5. This is a 49 soul equivalent, which means you're getting an equivalent of 19 more souls, while only using 2 more globals on the Hunt. In turn, in a 640 fight, I have, as you can see here, 12 Sigil of Flames and 7 Sigil of Spites, which is a loss of 40 souls. That's 28 from Sigil of Spite and 12 from Sigil of Flame. So while I'm losing 40 souls, 19 of those are coming back from the Apex talent, reducing the cooldown of the Hunt, and Broken Spirit generating an additional soul per Hunt. So just off that alone, that leaves a reduction of 21 souls. However, we've not gotten into the second part of the talent that generates off of Annihilations and Chaos Strikes. And at the same time, 19 globals used on Sigil Spite and Sigil Flame will no longer be globals used on those buttons, as they no longer exist. There is 2 extra hunts that are cast, but that frees up 17 globals, which is notable because that often will turn into Annihilation or Chaos Strike globals. However, I'm not going to even include that, so what we're just going to look at is the amount of Annihilations and Chaos Strikes that were cast. And that is 143, so we're going to times that by 0.2, which is an average generation, given how I played this given fight, of 28.6 souls. So what that means is, on this fight, where it's... On this fight where I'm not playing specifically around just doing pure single target because there's a lot of ad management and things going on, and I'm going to have downtime, I still have enough Annihilations and Chaos Strikes to outpace the generation of souls as it currently stands in the War Within. So in Midnight, doing this fight the same and playing it comparatively, while I have 2 less soul generators, I will generate more souls. That 21 soul generation reduction gets outpaced by the plus 28.6 souls coming from Chaos Strike and Annihilation. And again, this could see changes in the future as well. Additionally, I'm not going to be pressing Chaos Nova for a chance at soul generation anymore. The one note I have with this is we are seeing a reduction in our Fury generation. Sigil of Flame is now gone, so we're going to lose the Fury generated from that. Sigil of Spite, it gives you 4 souls when you cast it. Each soul is 20 Fury. However, as I mentioned, we are going to outpace that, and we're going to be getting those souls more consistently instead of in large burst windows where they're going to cause you to overcap. The other thing is that Fellblade is being changed. Currently on live, Fellblade generates 40 Fury, and as it mentions, Demon Bite has a chance to reset the cooldown. That is the same with Demon Blades. That is gone as of midnight. So it's only going to generate 15 Fury instead of 40, and it can no longer get its cooldown reset by Demon Blades. Now, we overcap a lot of Fury. A incredibly significant amount. And this isn't even including the fact that Tactical Retreat just doesn't generate Fury if you're at max, so it will never show any wasted amount, even though there is a wasted number. But even on this given fight, that is only 6 minutes and 41 seconds, or 400 seconds long, I have about 1,500 Fury waste that could be quantified without counting Tactical Retreat. That's a waste of about 4 Fury per second. So I do think pulling down our Fury generation isn't a bad thing on its own. You can also see specifically on Sigil of Flame that I have a lot of waste as I'm pressing it as a soul generator, and then the Demonic Appetite is going to be more wasted from that as well. So it's possible that we'll see a reduced number of globals into Chaos Strike and Annihilation. However, it's definitely not going to be big enough to counteract this soul generation amount. We also still will see souls from mobs dying. That isn't going away, but this is in terms of raid, where this is going to be a net buff to how it plays. I think it's going to feel more fluid and just more consistent, where you have soul generation that isn't so spiky around weird intervals. Specifically, like when you're playing on pull, you're going to get a hunt and a Sigil of Spite out, and you're going to have some souls for a while, and then you feel very starved until your next Sigil of Spite comes up. Then you have a hunt a little bit after, then another Sigil of Spite, and then around the 3-minute mark, they both come back up at the same time, and you get kind of like flooded with souls around that window, and it's got a weird ebb and flow to it right now that's no longer going to exist. You're going to consistently get that one glaive back every single minute, so every minute you're just going to get that one glaive, guaranteed single soul from it back, as well as when you spend a glaive, you also get a soul back regardless, so you're actually going to get a glaive plus 2 souls every time you hunt. That's going to, I think, smooth it out pretty well, and then we're still going to have generation from Wounded Quarry, we're going to have the percent chance generation from Chaos Striking, we still have Demonic Appetite. It's no longer going to be hasted, so you're going to get a little bit less procs on it, but it did behave a little bit weird because of that. But I do think the consistency of generating souls is going to feel much better when this does change. So, personally, I'm a fan of what they did to Aldrachi Reaver. I like having Hunt be a more significant cooldown. Plus, there's other things that our damage is going to be coming from, rather than everything just being around Aldrachi Reaver as a spec in and of itself. In Mythic Plus, no more Chaos Nova for souls. That's going to be a significant hit, but I do prefer the direction that they're taking this. Let me know in the comments down below if you agree or disagree and what you would like to see. Personally, I just really do want to see Blade Dance added to this talent. Even if the chance for it is changed, I would understand that, because we're going to get a lot of Blade Dance this next expansion, especially because every I-Beam allows you to double Death Sweep now. But yeah, I'll see you guys later. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.